the actor who plays Phil Knight, one of the most talented filmmakers of our generation, and he brings the story to life. Ladies and gentlemen, two-time Academy Award winner, Ben Affleck.
The review I read of my first movie was, "I can tell you what my hat tastes like." That was a pretty good first line, actually.
To go from Gone Baby Gone to Town, the Best Picture winner Argo, and now we're here. After it all, what does it feel like to bring this story to life?
This was really an example of the old sort of adage, and if it was John Huston, whoever said first that directing is 90% casting. What I was interested in doing initially was really trying to make a movie about people who were having conversations with one another and what they thought and felt, and those are the kinds of movies that I'm most drawn to. Not that I like things to be cinematic and I like things to be visual, but it doesn't rely on IP or the kind of things which are kind of increasingly being told, like, if you want to make your movie, you've got to have components X, Y, and Z, rather than just sort of like, well, these are people you're interested in and care about and make you feel something and think about something. And so I wanted to do that and really hold the audience's interest and make a movie that would inspire and move and cause people to think. But I just knew, like, in order to do that, it has got to be so expertly, brilliantly populated with the best actors possible, and I got them. So I'm really lucky, and that's why I'm sitting here.
Speaking of best actresses, today, Your Highness, Ms. Davis, the way you can deliver a line can pierce your heart and just make you want to be a better person. A shoe is just a shoe until you step in it. Like, it's with me now probably the rest of my life. I'll never be able to deliver it as profoundly as you do. But playing the mother of the greatest basketball player that ever lived. Also, I'm from New York and I'm a Knicks fan, so he was there when Patrick Ewing and John Starks were there. Any New Yorkers that know pain, that's pain, watching them not have rings on their, thank you, very few of us. Can you talk about playing this remarkable woman and interpreting her love and dream for her son that maybe he didn't even realize for himself?
Well, it's like I wasn't playing the mother of the greatest basketball player that ever lived. I was just playing a mother. And I think what's important in our community, the African American community, and I'm looking at Dolores, who was born just around the same time as my mom, actually. Maybe she may be a little older than my mom. And with that entire generation of African Americans, their children were their dreams. In the absence of opportunity, access to opportunity, coming from, I don't know, Jim Crow, whatever, what happens is your children become the people who take the baton and can run it to a place that literally fits into and encapsulates that promise that we had of the American dream. And I think that that is something that Dolores confidently kept within her. There are many people out there who don't have that. She somehow was born with something in her DNA that starts with two words that are very important. You can change it, but I deserve. Mm-hmm. And so, as I was going through the movie, I wasn't brought up with that. So it may sound like something very small, but from the moment that she was, I mean, in the scenes in Adidas and Nike or whatever, and just assessing the environment, asking the right pointed questions. What she was, her objective, her driving need was, I am going to get my son what he deserves. Because that's my legacy. So in that sense, she was an absolute joy to play. I got the overflow of that. Because I felt like once I stepped away from Dolores, I sort of basked in that a little bit. So I need to bring that to the negotiating table a little bit.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a really beautifully written and directed scene, that one where my character talks about his kid. But, you know, what happens in that scene as well at the end is, you know, my character sort of declares what's at stake here for him and his relationship with Matt's character, which is consistent with kind of one of the themes, and Ben, you know, correct me if I'm wrong here. One of the themes in the film, which is value and you know, asking for people to recognize your worth and asking to be recognized for that which I'm sort of relying you on. I like that my character sort of has a sort of a plot agenda for a while. He's sort of the audience's proxy. He's saying, yeah, listen, you're this pie in the sky, we're not doing that. And then eventually it kind of merges with his emotional agenda, which is consistent with the rest of the film, which is, you know, I've got stuff on the line here, guy, and if you're asking me to trust you, I'll think about it. And then eventually he does, and he comes around to it and gets on board with kind of the emotional track of the film. And so I like playing characters like that are sort of, they have a plan and then their heart gets in the way, and it sort of merges with what the audience is onto. And it was a really, really pleasurable experience doing this film.
Thank you. And Marlon, sitting here with $1 billion of box office under your belt, with the scary movies, acclaimed performances, Requiem for a Dream, On the Rocks, you've really shown your range as an actor. I know it's very important for Michael Jordan that this part of the story be told. Can you talk about the research you did in order to convey that part that was so important to Michael?
Thank God for YouTube. I got a call on Friday and I had to work on Monday. So I learned, I think it was like, I don't know, maybe Wednesday, but I had a long, it was a lot of lines to learn, and, you know, this scene was complex, and, you know, found out that the story was actually real. And my brother knew George Raveling because he used to hang out with Michael Jordan, so I tried to call George Raveling, but instead I left a message for his son. So basically, I couldn't get in touch with George Raveling. So I just kind of like, what was great was as much research as you could possibly do. Ben kind of wanted us to don't do the guy. Do a version of the guy that you want to do. And I was like, oh. When I got to set, he told me that. I wish he would have told me that over the weekend. Like, I'm learning all these lines, like, it's like pages, like long monologues, and I can say, like, yeah, don't worry about that stuff. Just make some, how would you say it? And so, I'm sorry, I lost the question. No, because I really lost the question. When you asked me the question, I was honestly thinking about what a great mother Jordan had and how damn it, the Wayans should listen to a mother. We still own Scary Movie, I swear to God. Listen to your mama, all y'all people out there, especially your black mama. Listen, she know what she's talking about. My mother was smart. You know, my mother we used to grow up in New York in the project. My mother would be like, baby, you see that crack house over there? You see that crack house? In about 10 years, that's gonna be worth millions of dollars. Like, yeah. Well, now the crackheads in there, you watch. 10 years later, it's now the meatpacking district in New York City. I would have been a billionaire. I'm sorry, what was your question, sir?
Research and YouTube.
Oh, research. Yeah, so I like to do extensive researches on my characters. At least, I mean, especially if you're playing somebody, you want to do them justice. You know, you want to, certain things, isms, I call them. You know, you can't take but you got to bring you to a character and melt them together. So I look for the isms, how he held his hands, you know, and how he spoke and what was his act, things like that. But I didn't want to do an impression. I wanted to bring me to him and just live truthfully. And when I got to set, you know, it was a lot of lines, but Ben makes you feel really comfortable, him and Matt, when you walk on that set. You know, some sets are really tense, and I think a lot of times it's because it's nervous injuries and directors don't know what they want. Ben knows what he wants in the next take, and he's in the editing room going, now I need this from that take. And so he doesn't waste your energy as an actor, so it was really a blessing to do this. I only got one scene, but look, my mama said do the movie, so.
It's true too. I've been asking him too. He acts like he doesn't remember, but I know he does because he has a little bit of look on his face, like, well, you know, I had to give it time. You know? But as I said, it's the people you see here and are gifted and brilliant and made the movie work and made it beautiful to me, and so did the other actors. You mentioned Matt is a friend of mine. I love him. He's my best friend. We've known each other for 40-some years. And that relationship was part, like, you know, you have a lead in the movie that do set a kind of a tone, and Matt is you know, we share a belief, and we've been, as you heard, like, on so many sets where it's just twice as hard to do your job, because the paradox of acting is that before you can even do anything that you want to do, you've got to find a way to, I mean, just relax, just to be comfortable. How many times have you done something, you know, I should have said that line, left the audition, and it's great in the parking lot, and it's like, you know, my off-camera work is so good, you know, and it's that thing of when it's like, okay, we're acting now, there's the slate, and now get nervous and seize up, go. And it's an added hurdle, and the big thing for me was just to feel like the director and the people believed in me and liked what I was and wanted me to succeed. And that environment, and if you have great actors, just forget about it. You really, it's like a directing. There's no real directing. The directing is really in getting out of the way, which means like, the actors have to understand that you respect them and that you know what's good and that you're gonna use it. You know, there's the feeling of like, I did this stuff, I want you to see it, and God, you know, what? And that belief, and it's love, like, I love what you're doing, I love this, you're making this movie beautiful. And it's wonderful, and that is what I do think Matt knew and felt and also believes, and so kind of we just want to have that feeling. And part of what Ars Equity does is just say, look, we're gonna, okay, here's the movie, here's the deal, we'll just deliver it to you. But we're going to decide how, you know, we want to pay the crew more. We want to pay the actors really what they deserve. We want to raise, and we got 20% higher so far, 5 movies, fees for all the crew. And then but that's a lot. That's a real thing to do, and it's not just arbitrary. It's based on people who are really good and understand and a sense of ownership and a sense of commitment and appreciation, and just work harder and care too. And as actors, we all know how much we rely on one another and everybody there. Anyway, I won't go on too long. Chris Messina, Matt, Chris Tucker, you know, Matt Mayer, all of them just did exactly what you see here, which is like the stories. I don't even know what was written and what wasn't written. It's true, because I was like, Marlon, just do it. You have it. You know it. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. Because when you're in that zone and you feel it and he has this taken, and you're gifted as they are. It's not something you can say, okay, it's your first day acting, go ahead, knock yourself out. That's not gonna happen. But when you are a master, and you have done what, you know, Viola has done, you just go like, I'm gonna turn the camera on. And just get out the fucking way. That's the truth. You don't need a lot of talk. You can't play that many things either. I have a weakness, which I talk too much. My wife is here, she'll confirm that. And really the truth is you wanna just go like, you can play 1 or 2 things. You know what I mean? And most of it's already done in there by the time they get there. And it's really just what version of that are you gonna get, how much you're gonna get out of them. And this is a story that couldn't be my voice, or Alex's voice, or anyone's voice. It has to be authentic. You're talking about, like, when I talked to Howard White, he was talking about growing up in segregated South, going to play basketball in a town, Virginia, that had a whites only sign, and being the only African American there, and then playing on the basketball team and got elected president of the school. I mean, me and Chris had a 5-minute monologue at the beginning of the movie about that. Like, it was like, let's try it, let's see, you know. And there was so much richness in all of these characters. I just want everybody to feel comfortable, like, you know it better than me. That's the thing I know, is how many actors you work with who really do know the character better than me, because they've spent the time, they committed, they're investing their soul in this. The key to directing is, you know, take advantage of the people who are better and smarter and can do the job better than you, and let them do it. It's just gonna, you know, so says directed by me.
I have one more question before I open up to
That's the monologue. It's quite moving. A lot of that is informed by, now we've seen Jordan in college in the NCAA shot that he takes. This is the first, you don't have, Michael just doesn't appear in this. My feeling is that he's too big and too potent and too meaningful, and anything that you try to tell people, look, that's Michael Jordan, it's like, you know, hey, this is Jesus. Doesn't look like Jesus. You know it's a lie. And I wanted that, you had to feel real. And so then when you see him in all his magnificence, and then even all of the broken, hurting moments, it's that in of itself is very powerful. And Matt's, we worked a lot on that speech, and Matt did a great job. He knew how to do it in many ways by doing less. And what's beautiful about the scene to me is that it's so much of it plays on the faces of the other characters who aren't talking. And each time you cut to each of them, you know, you look at Julia's and you see the pride and the hopefulness and the bursting sense that maybe a thing could be that he'd wanted to be, that, and his almost unbridled hope and ambition and dreams through his son, and it doesn't say anything, you know. And in you cut to Viola, and the same moment that Julius is feeling this, she's seems to be, it's like all great acting, it's a little bit inscrutable. You're not really totally sure, and that's what makes you go like, what is that? But you have since like Viola just played it in a way was mindful of not whether he'd be great, but what is the price of greatness that her son will pay. It seemed to me like the thing, when she played it that way, I was like, it was like so many moments, oh my God, it's perfect, that's exactly what it is. She's not sitting there going, oh, he get the contract, or is he gonna be the best basketball player? It's like, yeah, and what's it gonna mean for his life? And what is he gonna face? And then cut to Jason against the wall, and Matt uses the line that he's told him, and it's that like validation of his friend and what he means to him, and I see you and I regard you. And you cut to Chris Tucker, so none of them speak, and Chris looks back, he just checks to see how the Jordans are. And is like, are they reacting to this, and how is this landing? And it bespeaks his sort of, Howard's whole role in his life was going to this white jogging company, as many of the people at the time described it to me. And, you know, it was like, this is, you know, a lot of the lines come from the principles involved. And it's like, you know, this is not us trying to get African-American families coming, a lot of them from the East Coast, to come out here and convince them, hey, Portland is great, and this is what we do here. And the way they played it was such delicacy and, you know, tentativeness, and what you show and what you don't, and a little bit of coded communication between Chris and the family. And it just was so, you know, you just don't touch it. It's just like, oh, shh, 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 you know. And all of those moments, they kind of speak much more than the line would. And so much great acting happens without talking. In fact, it kind of sometimes talking gets in the way of seeing into somebody's, you know, heart. And that was the beauty of that scene for me, is that what you feel for is what you feel what it means to each of the people there. Even, you know, Matt Mayer, this is one life's dream is to make this great shoe. It's all he cares about, really, you know. And this is it. It's the time. And he kind of pushes it a little too far. He wants to over-explain it, and you know, Jason's like, thank you, you know, and you felt all the delicate little human needs and concerns and fears that had nothing to do with what anyone was saying. like oftentimes is the case. You know, we're saying things, we're going through the motions, we're exchanging pleasantries, whatever it is, but like inside underneath is the things that we care about often so much, you know. And that's the level of actors that I had, which is why I was like, we're just gonna watch everyone here at the table. And it was a gift and a joy, and it's just a clinic in acting. In sometimes, I mean, he's brave, man. Like, and it just, did you fly out here? You know, I mean, did your arms get tied? I mean, oh, talk about that. The word cringe was not around then. I mean, it's beautiful, like to take that, be that person. Most actors are too vain to do that, too scared. But to me, that's genius. Because that's like, yeah, that happened.